998,013, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 998,923, 24, 25, 26, 27. You're back again. Look at that. Look at that. I'm still counting. Over 998,000 droplets. If you don't believe me, I'll show you the buckets. Look at that. That bucket is pretty much almost getting full, and that one is almost empty. So there you have it, almost 1 million. I've been doing this for days and days and days. And what have you guys been doing? Hopefully you've been doing some schoolwork. But this is such a terrible job. It might sound like I'm moaning, but really, taking a dropper and dropping drops of water into a bucket is just like the most boring thing. I wish there was some other person that could come and do it for me. Someone that could just take all this pain and trouble away from me. But I suppose the illustration is that God is merciful and His mercy never ends, and you can never stop counting it. So that's just a little intro into today's worship session. So we'll be back in a second or two with some worship.
Who shakes the whole earth with holy thunder? Who leaves us breathless in awe and wonder? The King of glory, the King above all kings. This is amazing grace. This is unfailing love. That you would take my place, that you would bear my cross. You would
Welcome back, boys and girls. So you see, there was about 1,000,000 drops of water in a bucket, and it's quite interesting that we finished off that little water clip because the lesson today, which Stelm is going to share with the church, is all about the Israelites and how once they had escaped to Egypt and they'd crossed the Red Sea, they were traveling around in the desert and they were obviously getting thirsty and there wasn't much water around. So we're going to pick up the story at Exodus chapter 17, and I'll once again put on my glasses so I can see the small print. The Lord gives water from a rock. The Israelites left the desert and moved from one place to another each time the Lord ordered them to. Once they camped at Rephidim, and there was no water for them to drink. The people started complaining to Moses, "Give us some water." Moses replied, "Why are you complaining to me and trying to put the Lord to the test?" But the people were thirsty and kept on complaining. "Moses, did you bring us out of Egypt just to let us and our families and our animals die of thirst?" Then Moses prayed to the Lord, "What am I going to do with these people? They are about to stone me to death." The Lord answered, "Take some of the leaders with you and go ahead of the rest of the people. Also take along the walking stick you used to strike the river Nile. And when you get to the rock at Mount Sinai, I will be there with you. Strike the rock with a stick, and water will pour out for the people to drink." Moses did this while the leaders watched. The people had complained and tested the Lord by asking, "Is the Lord really with us?" So Moses named that place Massah, which means testing, and Meribah, which means complaining. Okay, so interestingly enough, God didn't desert them. Remember, we've already said His mercy is never ending. So even though they were complaining and moaning at Moses and wanting water in a desert, God provided for them.
The Faithful Hall of Fame, Moses. This is Moses, who was an Israelite born in Egypt in a time when Israelite boys were not supposed to live.
Wait, huh?
Moses, however, grew up in the palace of the Pharaoh, the very man who was enslaving the Israelite people. When Moses grew up, he made a big mistake
Uh-oh.
and fled Egypt
Ah!
to live with the Midianites.
Ah!
But God called Moses back to Egypt
Ah!
to deliver his people with the help of his brother Aaron.
Ooh.
After God showed his miraculous power in Egypt, he led the Israelites through the Red Sea and towards the Promised Land. They followed God, who showed himself as a cloud by day and fire by night. As God led them through the wilderness, the Israelites became thirsty and hungry. They complained to Moses and Aaron and said, "If only we had died in Egypt."
Huh?
God said to Moses that he would provide for his people.
Hey!
Each morning they awoke and found manna for the day,
What's that?
and each night God gave them meat. The people were still thirsty, and they were mad at Moses, saying, "Did you bring us out here to die of thirst?"
Yeah.
So Moses cried out to God, and God told Moses to strike a rock, and water came flowing out of it for the people to drink. And so the Lord provided for his people's needs.
Now, I was trying to think if there's some time in my life when I was complaining. And I was reminded recently by one of the guys that was in the army with me. Now we're going back about 35 years, because I was 17 in the army. And we had to go through something called basic training, and that would last generally about 3 months. The thing for me is that I did 3 months basic training at Youngsfield, which is here in Wynberg, at the anti-aircraft base. And after that, we were shipped off to Southwest Africa and Namibia for our second phase in the second year, and we had to do basic training again. And you can imagine how we moaned and complained. I mean, really, you got to do push-ups, sit-ups, you got to go running, you got to carry poles. It's like, really like, what are we trying to be like Rambo? We're just going to the border to keep people safe. And we moaned and groaned. I moaned and groaned so much one day that the guy that was in charge said to me, "Do you see that fire hydrant over there? Go grab the fire hydrant." So as you can see in the archived footage I'm displaying here, there was me holding on to this fire hydrant. Then he says to me, "Hey, why don't you just start doing some push-ups and sit-ups?" So I had to end up doing sit-ups, holding onto this fire hydrant like this was my baby, like this. You do everything that you do it with a fire hydrant. Now, if I hadn't complained, I might have just gone through normal training with the rest of the guys. But no, I had to hang on to this fire hydrant and do everything with the fire hydrant. So it just shows you it doesn't always pay to complain. And yet God, in His mercy, decided to help the Israelites. So, we got to also remember where the Israelites came from. They had been slaves in Egypt. Then God had said, "Okay, I'm going to free my people." And He made the Israelites and the Egyptians go through 7 plagues. Up until that last plague, the Egyptian king, the Pharaoh, couldn't care. He wasn't going to let them go. But when it came to the dying of the firstborn, God's angels, the angel of death, spared the Israelite children because they'd posted the blood of a sacrificial lamb on their doorposts. And it was only when the Egyptian Pharaoh's firstborn son was killed by God's angel of death that He actually let the Israelites go. So God had spared them through all that hardship, all those plagues. He got them through the Red Sea. Now they're walking in the desert, and yet still they're complaining. So we're going through a pretty tough time at the moment with this coronavirus. And yet, if we trust in God, we will eventually see the cloud on the edge. Every cloud is a silver lining. In the same way that there's light at the end of the tunnel. We're going through a tough time now, but if we trust in God and believe in His promises, we will see that we will come out of this and we will be better for it. The world will have changed, but if we put our faith in the right place, if we put our trust in God, we will be amazing. You guys are awesome. Hope you enjoyed the little worship session we had and the stories. And if you can, send us a voice note. Just record yourself on your phone or something and send it to the same email address I put out there last week. Even if you just want to do a shout out saying, "I'm doing amazing," record yourself and then just email it to me as a little voice recording. And then we can put something together for the next time we get together. Maybe also, if you've got time and you've got nothing to do, get a piece of white paper and maybe do a picture of some part of the lesson that you heard today. And then email that to me as well, and we can start including some of your artwork and your creativity into these little videos. Be great to hear from you guys. Stay safe, and for those of you who are starting school this week, enjoy. It's not that tough. It takes a little while getting used to the new rules and things, but you will be fine. And we'll see you soon. Cheers.
This is Dave. He's a turkey. Dave likes to do stuff. What are you gonna do today, Dave? I'm gonna make some jerky, do a herky, get a job and go to worky, buy a house in Albuquerque right before I take a walk, throw a rock, pick up all the dirty socks, get a case of chicken pox lunch. Then make a snowman, talk to a shark, parachute, chase all the dogs in the park, find a quarter, eat the quarter, stomach ache, do a magic trick for a lamp, eat a box of cupcakes, stomach ache, nap. Check up on the snowman, can't seem to find him. Find a sword on the ground, think about it. Eat the sword, go to the hospital. Emergency surgery, didn't make it in the end.